Welcome to a very special episode of Mystery Maniacs.
Today we're going to have an interview with Annette Badland.
She's awesome.
She is famous for Midsummer, Ted Lasso, and a whole bunch of other shows.
She was really fun to talk to. Thank you so much, Annette. We hope you enjoy this interview as much as we did. I can't say how excited we are to talk to you. When your character was brand new on Midsummer, I don't know when I was so excited to see you particularly on Midsummer because I have been a fan of yours for so long. You are so inspiring to me.
Absolutely. I think that I've been watching you for my entire life. I've realized we watched Jabberwocky in high school. We saw that movie out. And also, we were big John Hurt fans in high school. And so I saw that Quentin Crisp movie that you were in with him in a very small part, your first credit. I know I've seen that movie as well.
Yes. Yeah. First thing I did.
I think one of the most inspiring things about you for me is all of the unconventional roles you've played. You've never felt pressured to fit into that box of what an actress is supposed to look like and the roles that you're supposed to play. The fact that you played a female sumo wrestler just blows my mind.
And won.
Where did you find the confidence to do that? Is that something you've always had, or did you have a mentor that helped you, or?
No, I thought it was worth saying what the film was saying about women and their bodies, and getting on and living your life was very important. And the character was such that she was, she ran a factory and she had power, and she saw other women who were less than they could be because they were afraid of how they looked or where they came from. And she just decided, this was a really positive and strong. And it wasn't just the fighting, which we did do with a proper male sumo wrestling troupe from Japan that they brought across from Japan. But just their entire, she wanted to help with their entire lives, and it was all the background to the meditative stuff, and it gave them some spirit and strength. So I felt I could get behind that and believe in it, and I didn't come in the proper shaped box for anything really, for society. And I was hurt a lot when I was young, teased and all the rest of it, but just wanted to I was who I was. And, it didn't mean I couldn't dance and I couldn't do all sorts of things. I'd get up to all kinds of nonsense and things. So I just carried on. And if I can help other people realize that as well. And it does give me very interesting roles. I'm not just churning out virtually the same character all the time, which often people do. So my stuff has been really varied, and I love research. If I'm doing something, a period piece, or a real person, I did Gertrude Stein. I just adore all the research that goes into it and investigating their lives. So I'm well placed in Midsummer Murders, really, aren't I? Those blooming the detectives can't solve the crime. I have to solve them all.
Well, I think you perform a magic trick where all of your characters are very diverse, but they're all Annette Badland. There's all a magic and a brightness that you bring to all of them, but they're not in any ways the same.
No, I guess they are they're all facets of me. I went to a drama school that was Joan Littlewood and is the method, really. So I do, as I say, I research, I investigate, I try and think about the other characters and what people say about them, where their lives would have taken them. But you have to, as a human being, admit that somewhere in there has to be you. That, that is your sensibilities, your upbringing, and you can put things aside but somewhere that will feed in. So when I left drama school, we had a wonderful tutor who said there are many ways, because we had, as I say, been through the method and been locked in rooms for a whole weekend and all sorts of put out into the forest and things like that, to see how that felt. And I think you must always be open to new experiences, but I don't think you can entirely put yourself away. Or maybe, I mean, no actor can, because technically, even the people who are best at it, you're still running a whole lot of strands through your head as you're working. But technically, you have to be aware of what's happening, either with an order, responding to an audience, a live audience, or technically with the camera and how the scenes moved. And so you're subdivided as you're working anyway, for most actors.
Well, as probably the hardest working person in all of show business, you certainly have a lot of plates in the air. We hear that you're quite a list maker also.
Oh, I love a list. I like crossing things off a list. But now I'm also getting older. I have to have the list. It used to be part fun. Now it's essential.
When I read that, I was like, I knew I loved her for a reason, so many reasons, because we're crazy about lists. And I will write something on the list that I've just finished just to cross it off.
Oh, it feels so good.
Yeah.
It feels so good.
Make a little amendment. Just add a little codicil and go, oh, but I've done it. Cross.
It makes you feel good. You can pat yourself on the back.
Yes, look what I've achieved.
So were you you've been in tons of mystery shows. I mean, from Poirot to Marple to Agatha Raisin and everything else. Were you a Midsummer fan before the show? Like, did you pursue that role, or did they pursue you?
They pursued me.
Of course they did.
No, I was up with a bunch of other people. I had to audition, and I had to, once I got through the first round, I had to meet Neil and work with Neil a little bit. And I always remember it was in a room above a restaurant in Soho in the middle of London. And there were no props. There was nothing to use in the room. And there was a guitar on the wall. So we went over to this guitar and pretended it was a body on a slab. And the scene was talking about, suddenly the top became its head, and the body was the person's body. And so that was fun. And Neil and I got on. I don't know why, because he's absolutely humorless. There's no fun to be had with Neil Dudgeon.
I get that from his interviews. He seems like a very friendly person, but not really, not a slap happy person, not a frivolous person.
No, he's not. He's a wonderful leader, because he's very diligent, cares very much about the scripts. So does an awful lot of work, not just for his own part, but for the entire script, and really is very dedicated and diligent. And then I bundle in, and I'm naughty.
It's hard for me to believe that they didn't already have that part written with you in mind. I mean, Fleur is so awesome, and you play her so well. I don't know, and nobody else could have been her. I mean, did they make adjustments to the character to suit you, like the motorcycle riding and all this great history that she like hints at every once in a while? That wedding in Vegas, whatever.
It's just glorious stuff, because I don't know what they're going to come up with next. No, I think they had the producer and the director very much wanted me, but of course that's not how things are cast anymore. So I just had to jump the hoop with everybody else. But Guy, who was producing at the time, had previously, one day the person playing the pathologist was ill themselves and couldn't turn up. And they thought, oh God, how are we going to do this? And then someone said, oh, it could come through on a fax machine. The things could come through on a fax machine. And Guy said, I wanted a character that couldn't be replaced by a fax machine.
Yeah. Fleur cannot be replaced by him.
That's definitely Fleur. So one of the things we always look at in the episodes, because we watch the episodes far closer than anybody else does, is we have a segment that we call Best Corpse, because there's a number of corpses in Midsummer, and we are always singing the praises of the actors who are doing the corpse acting, because that is a different kind of acting.
Oh, and
And
hard.
Yeah.
They worry about it, you know, not breathing, and where the director's usually very good about saying, look, I'm not going to be coming to you until this point in the scene, then we'll go off somewhere else and don't worry. And but yes, hard. I mean, you talked about me in the Miss Marple, hanging on, being pegged to a line in the middle of the night in the winter, terrified of breathing. You know, you just think, oh gosh, I have to get through this, you know.
Well, and in the
So,
wintertime, they would have seen your breath, right?
yeah, yeah.
And they didn't have
Exactly.
CGI back in the 80s when that
No, they didn't.
was
They
made.
couldn't be painting anything out. So, yeah, actors are really concerned about that. We try and be as gentle and fast as we can be, so they can get through it. You know.
well, we're always in awe of the work they do, especially people in water and things like that. Like that is some amazing body control that they're doing at that point.
Yeah. Yes.
And as the coroner, you get to be closer to the corpses than any other character.
Yeah, I don't tease them very much. I try and look after them.
Very much.
I do try and sort of, you know, if you're covering someone up with a cloth all the time, or, you know, people forget they start walking away. They just leave them, you know. So I
Well,
always
that must
feel
be kind of flattering to them, though, that everybody forgets their life. So
Their
you have to wear
characters.
you have to wear a paper suit so much.
Oh, my Smurf suit. I look like a little Smurf in it. Nick took a photograph the other day, and I looked like a little happy little garden gnome. We were out, and I was doing a thing for charity. I was recording something, and he didn't know what I was doing, and he was looking out of his caravan. He took a photograph of me on the grass with some water behind me, and he came out to me and said, "What are you doing?" But when he showed it to me, I said, "Oh, please, I need that. I look like a little garden gnome."
You see a little hat, right?
Yes, little pointy job.
But it must be also kind of liberating to wear a paper suit. You don't have to worry too much about wardrobe. And if you mess it up, they can just give you another one, right?
They're mean with those suits, I tell you.
Oh, they're tight.
And because I am not slinky, they have to be a bigger size. So the legs of it, they have to take the legs up for me. But it means the waist is down around my thighs. You know, it's all just a big mess. And they're not brilliant. They're, of course, designed for men and not women. So they have a much easier time than we do. If you want to go to the loo, you have to kind of virtually undress. And that means the mask has to, you know, because the mask's around my neck and the hood and all of. So I try very hard not to. I need to go to the bathroom. Your tissue, there's no pocket. There are no pockets in them. You know,
I've often thought about that when I see you in those suits. Like, does she have to take all that off to eat lunch? Does she have to take all that off to go to the bathroom? Like, what a hassle it must be.
Yeah. I mean,
they are paper, right? So if they even get wet, it shows up, right?
Yes. I could become papier-mâché.
Everybody loves Fleur's motorcycle. Do you actually know how to ride a motorcycle, or do they just pull you on a trolley all the time?
They pulled me on. Annette Badland would love to ride a bike. She's got a Harley too. There was a Harley in the back, and it was meant to be in the front, and I wanted to be sitting on the Harley, and they went, "Oh no, please, could you sit on the motorbike and sidecar?" No, it's safety and everything. They have to kind of speed, and because Neil was in it too, we were attached to a truck, but they were going faster, and it was Neil that said, have we got enough takes now? Can we? Because he was very close to the floor.
Meanwhile, Fleur is like,
yeah. I don't think
I can absolutely believe that you would ride a motorcycle. I read that you abseiled for charity. Yeah. You seem like you're willing to try anything once.
Oh yes, the abseiling was hard. I said yes, but getting over the side is the hardest, or it was for me, actually. Just stepping over, that's the point. And I actually said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you might have a refuse, Nick. I don't know if I can do this." And the guy in charge just said, "Look, just know you're absolutely safe. Nothing is going to happen." And of course, I loved it once I'd got over the top and was jumping down the side and wanted to go straight back. But I think that's probably a very common story, you know, kind of want to do that. Yeah, I would love to have had a bike, but I knew I'd kill myself. I'd be trying to do things I couldn't really
Popping
manage.
weeds and stuff.
There'd
Yeah.
be corners taken at 100 miles an hour, and that would be the end of it. She does have that wonderful black Jag convertible as well. I did get to drive that and rather enjoyed it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So were you a fan of the show before? I know you'd worked on Bergerac, so you certainly would be aware of the show. And
Yeah, I look like I'm stalking John Nettles. And I haven't quite caught up with
there are a lot of people who do that.
Well, and you missed him on the show anyway, right? So
yes, that's what I'm saying. I keep following him and he's never there. I watched it when I was younger. I hadn't watched it in the recent past, because it's very good drama. It not only, you know, you've got everything. You've got very good actors who come on as the guests because they enjoy it and it has such a reputation. It's well written. It has humor. It has wonderful countryside. So, I mean, it's addictive. And I certainly know through COVID, it was a lifeline for people. Lots of people went back to watching it. And it's comforting, but it is of good quality, or it wouldn't have, 25 years. I know we're on the 24th series and the 25th is next year, but it has been 25 years. So it would not have survived if people just didn't respond to those things. And there's always a quality, it's quality, it's well shot, it's like a film.
yeah, you can watch an episode several times and it's good every time.
Yeah.
And we had a similar response with our community building through that period of the pandemic. Of it kept us sane with 4 children at home, as well as kept a lot of people said that they felt they weren't as alone listening to us talk about the show.
Yeah. Because they would rewatch an episode and then listen to our podcast about that episode. And yeah, it was comforting to people. It certainly is to us too. But,
and I know Ted Lasso is the same. Something else I'm in. Excuse me. I was with a chap the other day who said, during COVID, I just moved into a new flat. It was a 1, bedroom flat, very small. And all my friends had gone into bubbles, but I didn't seem to be in anybody's bubble. And Ted Lasso was my bubble every week. I felt I had friends and, could relate to people. So these programs are genuine. I think they are crucial to people as well, because there's an honesty and a sincerity in them. And the audience smell that. They know it comes from the right place. And as human beings, we respond to that, however much we like to be scared or worried about something, be it Midsummer. I mean, when I was little, we used to have Saturday morning cinema, and the Batman series. Whoa, and they were scary and dark. And there was it was all in caves, and it was Chinese men in dark suits chasing Batman. And I had terrible nightmares that night. And my mum said, "You're not going back." And I said, no, I want to go back. It's great. And I think it's the same thing. You kind of, you get addicted to that and you feel safe and amused. But it's truthful somewhere. It's got the right values or
Ted Lasso is so uniquely positive.
Oh, isn't it? It's wonderful.
It's refreshingly positive, but not boring.
No, and not schmaltzy, and Jason conceived of it way before COVID. And it's about all of us, isn't it? We all have foibles, we all have fears. And it goes, come on, we can,
It's going to be okay. We can do this together.
Yeah.
We had not watched it, and I saw the scene where Ted's boss talks to him about divorce when she finally comes clean about basically trying to ruin his career, and the act of hugging her and the optimism showed in that scene. I was like, we have to watch this show.
Yeah.
And then there's Annette Badland. Like, oh, okay, get better. So you run a pub in that show.
I do. I'm very different from Fleur.
Yeah.
May is a sassy girl as well. I mean, they both got spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And now, is sport something that you're into at all, or is this a new thing for you?
That's a new thing for me. I used to support Manchester United, but only because of Georgie Best. It wasn't that I understood football. But then I worked in Manchester quite a bit for a while and took myself off. When I was younger, there was a lot of violence and I didn't want to go to matches anyway. But I thought, working in Manchester, I had to go to the ground and see them play. And I adored it. I thought everything I thought I'd be frightened of, and the chanting I found witty and glorious and was joining in. The spectacle, the gladiatorial element of it, and its beauty really kind of got to me. So I went back a few times whilst I was up there. But football hasn't really been a big part of I swim. Swimming's my thing. But now I've got the Lionesses to support.
Yes.
Hey,
yes. We're hockey fans, and there are women hockey teams that we get to cheer for, and it's so fun, finally, to cheer for women athletes.
And the game is different, but it's wonderful, and they're fantastic. So they're my team now.
So when you film those pub scenes, do you all film all the scenes for one episode, like on the same day? Like, do you have to do cheering scenes and then sad scenes all the same day?
Absolutely. Or alternate. But usually if it's a game, we go through the game. If we're watching a match, we go right through the match and let that happen. And then we might fill it out other scenes that aren't about watching it happening. Yeah, you got it right. It's because they have to structure things, I suppose, and because of all the SAs who are brilliant. They're not going to bring 30 odd people in and have them hang around, or
right. I figured they had to be efficient about it.
Yeah. So, but they were a tremendous bunch of people, and a lot of them stayed for the whole 3 series. They kept coming back and being with us. They became regulars.
And I see that you're now a host for the Airbnb for the pub.
Yeah, that's
in October.
Clever idea. I think it's glorious.
It's so fun.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And I love that they're making it affordable too. It's not like a competition for who can pay the most to do it.
No,
it's like our dream list in going back to England is like spend time with Annette Badland in a pub, go on a narrowboat with Timothy West.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have a word with you because I've known Tim since I started. Really, I started with the Actors Company when I left drama school, which was Ian McKellen and Sheila Reid. I don't know in America Caro Blakiston you might know, but Tim knew them all and used to come and support us because it was a new venture. It was actors running the company and they would employ the directors and not the other way around. And so Tim used to come out and kind of turn up in a town we were touring to and give us some support and go off again. And then I worked with Prue a lot as well. Prue Scales, we did
they just seem to be lovely people.
Oh, they are.
Absolutely.
And then in EastEnders, of course, I was in love with Tim.
Yeah.
The rat. He'd taken
And
my
his
sister away. The rat.
his Midsummer early on was it's one of my favorites for sure. He does
Right.
such he's a touching, caring actor faced with a difficult situation from the script, and just so much on his face, and the stage comes out with him without it seeming cardboard. Like,
Right.
It's really, really good.
Oh, well, I have to get that on iPlayer or something. Well,
Oh.
not iPlayer. But,
He's excellent. Well, I mean, everybody in Midsummer is excellent, but
Mm.
yeah. So I have to ask you a question that our listeners really, 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 really wanted us to ask, which is, what is your favorite murder method in Midsummer?
Death by chocolate, of course.
Yes. That must have been a messy set.
And very hard for me. I desperately wanted to break a bit off and eat it as Fleur. I thought, and then I thought, oh no, they're never going to let me do that.
I can't lick his face. I can't lick his face.
now,
Just take a corner off by his ear, no one will notice.
A little, right? Just a little.
and we know you filmed the new season. Are you guys done filming the new season?
No, we're just starting. We've
Just
done 1 of 4. And we're just starting 2 yesterday, but I'm on something else called Big Boys, so I wasn't needed. I did the read through for that yesterday, but Nick and Neil started episode 2 of Midsummer.
So you're juggling shows then? You hop between
Yes, yeah,
based on when you're on the call sheet, huh?
yep. Well, they have to negotiate. They both companies talk and fight over me. How wonderful!
Schedule around you.
Yeah. It's usually more to do with where the sets are, where the location is. Because
Yeah, and if
often,
you can get
especially
there.
on Midsummer, getting, special, wonderful houses or a landscape.
Yes, we're always amazed in Midsummer, people who work as handymen living in $1 million cottages.
It's like that all over England, that's how it is.
Well, we want to be respectful of your time. But before we let you go, we wanted to talk to you for just a minute about your charity work.
Okay.
Because it's so inspiring. And we know that you've done things for diabetes and for cancer, and Target Ovarian Cancer is the current charity that you're doing work for. Is that right?
That's right. I'm also still doing my Swim 22 for Diabetes UK. I wasn't going to do it this year, but I've decided to not swim the whole channel. I'm going to be floating about in the middle of it. I'm doing 11 miles for them.
That's enough.
Yes, it's enough.
11 miles is a lot.
But I did say could they put on the Midsummer call sheet, here's your annual opportunity to help an old lady cross the channel. But Target, it's a good social media story. I loved their posts. I thought they were energized and frank and truthful. And it's something that, it's a silent killer. It really is. Women don't get diagnosed, and if they're diagnosed early, it's perfectly treatable. But 11 women in England are dying every day because of it, and because they don't know the symptoms, and often the doctors don't, and they're sent away being told it's a urinary infection and take some antibiotics, and then 2 years later, not having been diagnosed, they die. There was a young girl. I got involved, as I say, seeing their social media sites, and then Anwin clocked that I was, liking things and reposting, and she got in touch with me and asked me if I would read in the Tower of London at Christmas for them. They have their candlelit Christmas service there. Oh, yes, I'd love to do that. So I've done it for a few years. And then this last Christmas, she ran up the aisle to me as I was leaving and said, would you be an ambassador for us? So I was thrilled. I mean, it's an honor. So I'm more than happy to try and help and spread the word so that women and their husbands, because it's men's mothers and sisters and wives and, aunties and best friends. So I think what I liked about their posts and what I'm trying to be, it's got to be quite frank and open and just say, do you know the symptoms? No, you're not going to be, it's not going to be diagnosed through your cervical smear. Doesn't read at all on that. And it's very simple things. It's bloating, persistent bloating. And if that's unusual for you, and women are likely to go, oh, I'll go on a gluten-free diet, or I'll go vegan for a month, and I'm sure that'll be, or I won't drink Coca-Cola or whatever. So there's that. You want to pee more, and it's insistent. You have to go to the loo. And a sort of ache. Lots of women I spoke to who have survived it say it's as though you've been standing ironing for a long time and your back aches, and you might have pain in your abdomen down to your thighs and things. So it's hard for me because we're such a chemistry set all of our lives. We're always changing, and menstruation, and then as we get older and age and things happening then, the menopause, it's hard for us, but GPs aren't aware, so we have to sort of self-monitor and be self-aware. So I thought it was something that really needed to be kind of spoken about and helped, and
we're so often told to just kind of struggle through, take some Tylenol or whatever.
Yes,
it'll go away.
yeah.
I know when we I had a colonoscopy because I had a positive test, and we talked about it on the show. I'm just, I'm not afraid to talk about it. And we got such a positive response from people saying, you know what, I wish more people would just mention it,
Yes.
and just talk
Yeah.
about it because it's important. And I think the same thing is true of ovarian cancer. People just need to talk about it.
Well, we
It
don't
shouldn't be
talk
embarrassing
much.
or anything.
Absolutely right. And we don't talk about things below the waist, do we? The sort of mucky bits. We don't.
But those mucky bits will kill you.
Yeah, the tropical forest down there we don't talk about, or we joke about, or
Yeah.
Yes.
But we need, as you say, we just need to be honest and frank and talk about it more, and
So has charity work been part of your professional life from the very beginning, or did you come to it, or?
I've come to it. I came through it through EastEnders, really. EastEnders was the first program I was in where people didn't come to me and go, I don't remember your name. Is it Anita? But I love the thing you were in last night. Or they would say, it's Annette Badland. Why the hell did you do that? We hate that program. On EastEnders, they would go, babe, are you all right, babe? How you doing, babe? And they thought I was the character, which is scary for an actor. And it's a privileged place to be, to have that recognition and celebrity. And I thought, well, you've got to use that. You've got to try, and because I'm shy, so I found it quite difficult. But I thought, well, if I can use that to connect people and do charity work through it and make people more aware, that's a good way of paying back and helping other people. That's that, and it really was EastEnders that did that to me. Kind of, I just thought,
what a great way to use that celebrity. So many people who have celebrity just complain about it and talk about, oh, paparazzi chased me, or the burden of being famous or whatever. What an incredibly positive way to use it. That's lady, you are so inspiring.
Well, the audience give us everything, don't they? If they don't like you and you don't connect. So they are very important people in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, well, I found it frightening, kind of people coming up on the train, and I had death threats as babe because I wasn't a very pleasant character. Towards the end, I had a death threat and the police were involved, and you joke about that, but you don't really know what's going to happen.
Wow.
Someone might come down from somewhere with a machete and just have a go because they do think you are the person.
It's just a soap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
But
Yeah.
for those people, the characters are alive for them.
That's scary.
Yeah, but it was like the entire involvement with it was very different from anything I'd had before. And I just did think, well, what can you do to make this positive, as opposed to, there was one girl I was having a conversation with a close friend about another friend who was dying, and suddenly realized there was a girl walking backwards in front of us videoing us, a teenage girl. And I said, what are you doing? We're having a private conversation, and they just think they're taking part of you. So you can understand with great celebrity that I'm very low grade. So if you've got that multiplied thousands of times, it is intrusive and worrying. And I could say, well, please don't do that. Just ask me. Just say, can I have your picture, or can I have a little video with you? And that's fine. But you are sort of stealing from me. You're kind of invading me and taking something away from me. But I really do think you can't. It's hollow, isn't it? If you just sit on it and go, "Oh, I'm on top of this big cream cake," and I don't like some of the filling, but
Now, I know that you've talked about performing live as a connection to the audience. Are in social media, and especially after a pandemic, are you finding new ways of connecting to the audience so those studio dramas are less stale to you?
Yes. I mean, I do social media more than I ever did before. And I do get involved with people's personal stories. I tend to connect with people. And I'm on something called Cameo. So I get to do little, videos for people and make more laughter and try and keep them happy.
And you wouldn't be here if you weren't willing to do that.
No.
If Mark hadn't been able to reach out to you and you weren't,
Well, I'm
willing to
fearless.
respond.
I'll talk to everybody. I don't mind talking to anybody and asking any question to anybody, because the worst thing you can say is no, and I'm always respectful. So to me, then I'm doing the right stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, if that person isn't saying no to me personally, that person's saying, no, I don't have time today, I don't have this, we have really been pleased with our response to the podcast of over 55-year-old women in particular.
That's the majority of our listeners.
That's the majority of our
Really?
listeners.
Yeah.
And created community in a digital space where there wasn't community for those people before.
Yes.
And you have got to be a patron saint of all that. You are so fantastic.
But I'm highly qualified.
Yeah.
But you do, as an older woman, get ignored as well. I mean, I know we're all barging into one another, watching, people looking at their phones all the time with their ear pods in, and they don't see you coming and just walk smack into you. But I know when I'm shopping, or I just get negated. So it's a whole part of society that, they think your time has passed. I mean, a funny story, I took myself off to Peru at the beginning of the year for about 2.5 weeks. And I had a driver on my last day. I very much wanted to see these things called the Nazca lines. Mm-hmm. And when I went out, I hadn't heard that there was a revolution happening, because in England, we don't really get South American news very much. And so all the time I'd had to keep I wanted to go to Machu Picchu, but I'd had to keep changing my plans. And I did see Machu Picchu, but I'd book it and then I'd get a call and they'd say, oh, no, you can't. The train's not going there on Wednesday. You've got to do it on Monday. Or, oh, no, sorry, you can't go to Pisco. They've taken, Pisco. Or, oh, you can't go to Lake Titicaca because Puno's airport's been taken. So very last day, I'm flying out at night. I want to see the Azca lines, which are wonderful geoglyphs in the desert, and there's a hummingbird. I'm sure, being in America, you know much more about it. We hear very little. So got a driver down, and he had, at 6 o'clock in the morning, he arrives, and he has no English. I only have Spanish that's polite, you know. Please, thank you, good morning, goodbye. But thank goodness there's Translate on your phone. So all the way down, he would say Spanish into his phone, and then it would, you know, read out in English. And eventually we stopped at lunchtime, and he typed into his phone, "You have grandchildren?" And I said, "No, I don't. I don't have any grandchildren. I don't have children." Very strange face. That's not what women of my age, you know, where that gives us our status, to be a grandmother, to be someone nurturing. And then he typed a little bit, and he turned the phone to me, and it said, "Kittens?" Because he couldn't believe that a woman of my age would go through and not.
So you
have
must be a
something to
cat lady.
nurture. Yes.
Yeah.
And I do nurture things, and I've had, you know, I've got a godson and everything, but it was just very funny. So I know that beyond 55, it's people don't
Grandmother
expect.
or cat lady. Those are my options.
Yeah.
I can look forward to that. Okay.
Yeah. It's no bad place to be, I have to tell you.
I guess, yeah. Annette, thank you so much for joining us.
No, my
Our audience is going to be out of their minds because they don't know about this yet.
Okay.
So this will be going out on the 8th of May, both audio and video on all of our channels and everything. And I just want to, do you want to hear it or see it beforehand or anything like that?
Oh, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
It's my own fault if I've said something appalling.
You have it.
Well, poor Nick, our little story of our first interaction, we had no thought that the show even noticed us.
We didn't think anybody from the Midsummer production crew would ever notice the podcast. Yeah.
And I said Winters in a tweet, and Nick piped up right away and said, "It's winter."
There's no S on the end. Like, he's paying attention. He corrected you.
Had his little boy Rocco, so he doesn't do social media at the moment. He's not. Yeah. I don't think there's time.
Yeah.
Well, we had 4 children the same age. We understand no time. So
yeah, we have 4 kids who are all juniors in college right now.
My goodness.
So podcasting is a great break.
Yeah.
From everything else.
It was a moment during the pandemic where we could say, no, we have to stay in here for 2 hours and not be bothered.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Please go away now.
And then you wonder what all the noises were.
So we will link to the charity and the show description and all that good stuff. We want to drive as many people there.
Target has been very good with us.
Yeah.
So all of our merch sales for the first half of this year, we take all that money and whatever we make, and then we match it. We're very fortunate people. So we match it and then donate it to Target, and we'll make sure that you get notified that we're doing that and all that good stuff. So we're only interested in helping people. We don't take sponsorships or Acorn sponsored us because
great.
Yeah, but that made sense. Yeah.
That made sense.
Yeah.
So, this has just been fantastic and the best part of the year so far. I can't believe
you need to get out of that cupboard.
Maybe you should
stop hiding from the children.
Thank
you so much. It's been really fun talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll have to do it again.
Awesome. Anytime you want to talk to us, we will gladly talk to you.
We'll take your call.
Yeah.
Promise.
Okay.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
And no, I've got another charity. I'm going to learn to mix cocktails at the
Oh,
Ivy Club in the middle of town.
Oh, that's
I
quite the
also-
hardship.
Yeah, I know, it's awful.
it's a tough
It's
one.
the hard one is mixing them but not drinking them.
Yeah.
That is a real challenge.
And gets more challenging if you do drink them, right?
Yeah. It doesn't seem so at the time, but
Well,
tomorrow
have
could be
fun and
very
thank you
difficult.
again.
Thank you so much.
Lots of love. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
So there you go. There's our interview with Annette.
That was amazing.
I don't think we fangirled out too much, did we?
Oh, I know. I was doing it inside.
Don't forget to check out the charity, Target Ovarian Cancer, very important cause. You'll find the link down below. Remember that all of the proceeds from our merch go to that charity until
The end of May.
the end of May. So you don't have too much time. Go buy a t-shirt and give money to an important cause.
Thanks again to Annette. Bye, Maniacs.
Bye, Maniacs.